This is Dr.RED Panda.
Japan, known for its discipline, tradition, and politeness. But behind the curtain lies the world's most massive and efficient adult industry. Every year, thousands of films, billions of yen, a market larger than Hollywood's. So how did a nation known for modesty become the porn capital of the world? I'm Dr. Red Panda. Today, we uncover the surprising history behind Japan's AV empire, from post-war shame to global domination. Japan, a nation torn between modesty and desire. On the surface, Japan often strikes people as a country of strict discipline and impeccable politeness. From school uniforms and rigid social norms to a culture that emphasizes group harmony and a deep fear of losing face, Japan appears quite conservative. But here's the twist. Beneath this conservative exterior lies a surprising secret. Japan is also one of the world's largest producers and consumers of adult content. This begs the question, how did a society that values self-restraint so highly become the global capital of the pornography industry? The answer lies in Japan's unique relationship with shame and repression. Unlike Western cultures, which often view sex through the lens of personal freedom or morality, Japan tends to see it in terms of maintaining social harmony. As long as one's actions don't disturb others or disrupt the appearance of public decency, they are often quietly tolerated, even when it comes to explicit adult entertainment. This dual structure, public modesty, private indulgence, has created fertile ground for the adult video, AV industry. On the streets, people bow politely, but behind closed doors, adult manga, hentai, love hotels, and thousands of AV titles circulate with surprising ease. The same society that avoids open conversations about sex allows convenience store aisles to be stocked with explicit content, often without a second glance. Fantasy and escapism also play a crucial role. In a culture that emphasizes conformity and emotional restraint, adult content becomes a release valve. It provides a safe space where suppressed desires can be explored without real-world consequences. AV in Japan isn't just about depicting sex. It is often stylized, thematic, and fantastical. It addresses a broad spectrum of psychological needs, not just physical urges. Moreover, taboos attract attention. The very act of not talking about it has made adult content even more intriguing. AV in Japan has never been just entertainment. It has served as a form of psychological release, for individuals and for society as a whole, as it wrestles with the ongoing tension between tradition and modernity. This constant tug-of-war between social decorum and private fantasy didn't merely allow the AV industry to flourish, it made it inevitable. From defeat to desire, how post-war shame fueled a new industry. In 1945, Japan lay in ruins. Its cities were reduced to rubble, its people traumatized by war, and its emperor, once seen as divine, stripped of power. The country hadn't just lost a war, it had lost its very sense of self. During the American occupation, Japan was forced into a major transformation. Democratization, demilitarization, and a heavy dose of westernization. But alongside these big changes, something more subtle began to take shape, a deep and lingering sense of national shame. The once proud empire now answered to foreign powers, and the psychological impact ran deep. Women, in particular, experienced a complicated shift. During the war, many had taken on patriotic roles. But in the chaos of the post-war economy, some were pushed into very different kinds of work, often exploitative, sometimes degrading. Sex work, once hidden in the shadows, began to surface more openly. To keep things calm among occupying American troops, comfort facilities were set up again, this time under the label of health control. These were legalized prostitution centers, a domestic version of the wartime comfort women system, now repurposed for a new clientele. Though these facilities were eventually shut down under U.S. pressure, the idea had taken root. Sex could be regulated, commercialized, and turned into an industry. At the same time, Japan's shattered media world was scrambling to bounce back. While mainstream films and publications were heavily censored, erotic content found its way through the cracks. Risque magazines, pulp fiction, and underground photo books began to circulate, offering escapism, fantasy, and just enough taboo to make them intriguing. By the 1950s and 60s, this underground current started gaining real momentum. The rise of the pink film genre, softcore erotic movies, became a fixture in Japanese cinemas. These films weren't porn by today's standards, but they pushed social boundaries. They drew crowds, made stars, and helped pave the way for what was coming next. Post-war Japan was full of contradictions. A country rebuilding through hard work and high-tech ambition, while quietly growing an industry rooted in fantasy and desire. The AV industry wouldn't truly explode until decades later, but by then its roots were firmly planted, nourished by shame, survival, and the silence in between. Lights, camera, industry, how Japan built a porn powerhouse. By the late 1970s, Japan was booming. The economy was skyrocketing, the tech industry was exploding, and the middle class had disposable income like never before. With prosperity came leisure, and with leisure came curiosity. Enter VHS. The invention of home video changed everything. For the first time, people could bring adult content home. No more shady theaters, no more side glances at the ticket booth. Privacy became profit, and Japan was quick to capitalize. A flood of new production companies emerged almost overnight. Unlike Hollywood, which had a handful of major players, Japan's AV industry was wildly decentralized. Small studios could produce dozens, sometimes hundreds, of titles per year, churning out content at lightning speed. It wasn't art, it was volume. And then came the AV idol. Suddenly, certain actresses stood out from the crowd, not just for their looks, but for their characters. Some played the shy schoolgirl, others the powerful seductress. The industry realized fans didn't just want porn, they wanted personalities. Thus began the AV star system. These actresses became household names. They had fan clubs, magazine interviews, even talk show appearances. Some, like Sora Aoi and Maria Ozawa, became international icons. The line between adult entertainment and mainstream fame blurred. Meanwhile, the AV actor situation was, well, let's say, unique. There were very few male actors, and those who made it often appeared in hundreds of films per year. The job? Physically demanding, psychologically odd, and oddly mechanical. One man performing alongside dozens of women, all in different roles on tight production schedules. It wasn't glamorous, but it worked. Japan's AV industry became a well-oiled machine. Scriptwriters, directors, stylists, editors, all working to produce content that felt spontaneous, but was actually highly engineered. Genres were cataloged like sushi menus. Schoolgirls? Check. Nurses? Check. Tentacles? Check. By the 1990s, the numbers were staggering. Thousands of films produced per year, billions of yen in revenue, and growing demand overseas. This wasn't just an industry anymore. It was an empire. Exporting desire, how Japan's AV took over the world. At first, Japan's AV industry was a domestic affair, a private pleasure, hidden behind the curtains of salaryman apartments and vending machines with tinted glass. But once the internet arrived, all bets were off. Suddenly, those tapes and DVDs didn't need to stay in Japan. They could go everywhere. And they did. It started small, pirated uploads, fan-subtitled clips, and mystery downloads from sketchy websites. But soon, an army of dedicated subtitle fans, especially in Chinese-speaking and English-speaking regions, began translating AV content with an almost academic passion. Dialogue, titles, even opening disclaimers, all lovingly localized. Why? Because Japanese AV had something different. It wasn't just the nudity, it was the tone. There was storytelling. There was roleplay. There were wild, sometimes bizarre themes. Unlike the rawness of Western porn, Japanese AV leaned heavily into fantasy, performance, and emotional nuance, even if it was fake. To many foreign viewers, it felt like a strange but fascinating universe. Schoolgirl uniforms, honorifics, slow build-up, the infamous pixelation, and that lingering sense of, should I really be watching this? It was both forbidden and oddly poetic. At the same time, Japan's cultural exports were booming: anime, J-pop, sushi, and video games. AV simply slid into the mix unofficially, a parallel current riding the same global wave. Soon, major actresses like Sora Aoi gained huge fan bases in China and Southeast Asia, not through mainstream media, but through file-sharing sites, memes, and online forums. She became a strange kind of celebrity, banned from some platforms, adored on others. AV even influenced aesthetics and fashion. Terms like JK, Joshi Kusei, or high school girl, and tropes like the nurse or office lady became cultural shorthand across borders. Japan had created a soft power fantasy machine, whether it meant to or not. And here's the kicker. While Japan itself rarely talks openly about its AV industry, the rest of the world was watching, imitating, and sharing it, sometimes more enthusiastically than the Japanese themselves. A sexy transformation in the age of AI and social media. By the 2020s, Japan's AV empire wasn't collapsing, it was mutating. Gone are the days when an actress needed to sign with a major studio, shoot 30 scenes a month, and hope for a fan base. Today, all she needs is a phone, a ring light, and a Twitter account. Welcome to the age of self-managed AV stars. Platforms like OnlyFans, Fantia, and Patreon have allowed former AV idols, and even complete newcomers, to go independent. They control their content, their pricing, and their fans. The old studio system is still there, but it's no longer the only path to stardom. In this new model, parasocial relationships are queen. Fans pay not just for videos, they pay for attention. A like, a heart emoji, a birthday message. AV stars aren't just performers now, they're influencers. Some host live streams, play video games, even review ramen. The lines between adult content and daily content are blurring fast. And then there's AI. With the rise of deepfake technology and AI-generated faces, entire virtual AV actresses have emerged. They don't age. They don't get tired. They don't demand contracts. Some companies now use AI to create synthetic performers with fully customized bodies, faces, and voices, tailored to user preferences. It's the ultimate fantasy, and a massive existential threat to real performers. Even the fans are changing. Today's AV viewers are more global, more niche, and more algorithm-driven. What gets recommended isn't what's best. It's what gets clicked. And that means the industry is now chasing data, not art. So where does Japan's AV empire go next? It may no longer dominate in raw volume, but its influence is deeper than ever, not just in what people watch, but in how they think about desire, fantasy, and control. From wartime shame to AI lovers, the journey of Japan's adult industry is no longer just about sex. It's a mirror reflecting who we are and who we're becoming. And that's a wrap for this episode of the video. I'm DR.RED Panda. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe and give it a thumbs up. Until next time, take care.